Hello and welcome to this edition of EMS Now Up Close. I am Eric Miskell with EMS Now. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Dan Heinen. He is the Global Director of Quality with Waldom Electronics. Waldom, of course, has a unique position in the industry as a master distributor. And many of you may remember the interview I did with Don Akery, the CEO, earlier this year. It got a lot of attention, so we've invited Dan on to speak a little more and tell us more about some of the programs they have. So Dan, welcome. It's a pleasure to meet you, sir. Why don't we begin by just giving you an opportunity to introduce yourself and what your role is there at Waldom.
Well, thank you, Eric. I appreciate that. Again, my name is Dan Heinen. I'm the Director of Quality at Waldom Electronics. I've been with the company a little over 11 years. It's been a very interesting journey. Our company has grown and changed a fair amount in my tenure here. We're excited about our programs. We're going to get into them a little more deeply in a little bit, but yeah, so excited to be here and thank you.
Okay, perfect. And you oversee all of the quality then, so anything related to quality within Waldom?
Yeah, quality and compliance, yes.
And compliance, okay, good, sir. Well, let's start. I mean, one of the big programs, it's the whole stock recovery program that Waldom has. Explain what that is and how that works and who that benefits. Okay,
there's multiple facets to it. For one, there's the original, so to speak, program was manufacturers like TE, Molex, and those. They would offer a stock rotation to their distributors, and they would ask the distributor, send them a list of excess inventory that they can't sell. And then they review the list and then they approve whatever they would want back. Then, instead of though saying, send it back to me as I'm TE or Molex or whatever, they would say, send it to Waldom. So we get it, we review it. And then based on the return value, the manufacturer would give the distributor a percent discount towards the purchase of new product. Then when we receive the product, we, again, like I said, review it, inspect it, things like that. It's a very strict process. It was started by us in 2012 and has since been adopted by the ECIA as the business best practice for handling slow moving and excess inventory. So like I said, it's a strict process. It's much more invasive, so to speak, as far as a receiving inspection process. And I can get into that in a little bit, but that's the original program, so to speak. And then it's been branched off into other programs for maybe a direct shipment from the distributor to us, where the manufacturer isn't really involved. Now, again, the manufacturers do endorse this. They're fully on board with us doing this with the distributors. Then beyond that, also we have agreements with suppliers for them to send us their excess inventory as well.
Okay.
So there's three main components, and then there are offshoots to those as well. Depending on the makeup of the product and things like that, and the saleability of it and things like that. So.
Yeah. And that's what comes through, I think, when I look at you guys, is you're kind of a problem solver on this kind of material side for these companies, right? Like you just said, there's variations of it. So you have your standard products, but you're willing to kind of adapt those to whatever the need is, as long as it's a company, and I think that's an important distinction. It has to be the authorized distributor to be able to for the stock recovery program, right?
That is right, and there's a big reason for that. Everybody knows that there's a great sensitivity in the market as it pertains to counterfeit product, and that's why it is exclusive to those distributors that are authorized for those suppliers. Very important.
Yeah, but on the flip side, when you actually resell returned stock, that can go beyond just the authorized distributors.
That is correct. We can sell that to unauthorized distributors, but again, only distributors. So we only sell to other distributors, but yes, we can sell that product to unauthorized distributors for sure.
And that's always the message, you know, especially after the Don interview, we deal with a lot of EMS. People were saying, as EMS, how do we use it? And it's like, well, you can't directly, right? It's you need to work through your authorized channels and kind of push them to engage with Waldom in order to reap the benefits.
Yeah, that's right. And you know, the thing is that those customers already have relationships with distributors, so you know, it really is. It's perfectly fine. Our pricing is competitive. For sure. We do maintain the cost book, but our pricing is very competitive. Also, a huge portion of this is, you know, manufacturers are increasing. Well, for one, they're increasing their lead times. I mean, yes, they have come down a bit since COVID, but they also increase their minimum order quantities. And so if a manufacturer simply doesn't have the volume needs for a minimum order quantity, we're a great resource for them. They can buy less than MOQ quantity from us at competitive prices. So it's kind of a win-win for the end user, so to speak, going through distribution. Of course, it's the recovery program is a win for the manufacturer because they, you know, the number one, they don't have to remake product. I mean, that's a huge thing for them. Our model does help them reduce their lead times overall, because then they don't have to you know, set up for these particular parts that we have in inventory. So it really helps the supplier, and it helps the distributor. Like we said already, they can buy less than MOQ quantity. They can have it right now. They don't have to wait 30 weeks for the lead time, things like that. So it's a win all the way around for everybody involved, including the end user, because they don't have to buy the minimum order quantity.
Yeah, perfect. So let's get into your area of expertise. Tell me kind of what the general quality processes are there at Waldom when you are taking back stock from distributors.
Okay, so when we receive product, first thing we do is make sure that it's. I mean, we don't we don't assume necessarily that it's counterfeit, but we certainly have our eye on that. In that, for one mitigating factor is the fact that we only get it from authorized distribution and or the manufacturer themselves. But first, we look to make sure that we have the manufacturer's label. It's the manufacturer's legitimate, authentic product. That's number one, and that's the biggest thing that we do as far as the inspection goes, is making sure it's authentic. Okay, that's number one. And then, you know, if the package has been opened, you know, and maybe 1 or 2 or 5 pieces have been sold out of it, we make sure that product is in good shape. You know, as far as no damage, no oxidation on you know, certain parts do oxidize. We make sure all that product is good. And then it's fully traceable too. So we can trace back to how we acquired it. So, and we capture date code, lot code, all those things. So it's fully traceable. Okay. Back to the returning entity. If it's the factory, obviously them, but if it's a distributor, we can trace back to their purchase order. So it's fully traceable. So that's the inspection process at Waldom. Obviously, it's gets a little more into detail than that, but I mean, it's a very robust. It's proven very effective for us. We do scrap a certain percent. It's on it, you know, in the 11, 12 years we've had the program, it fluctuates between 7 and 10% that we scrap upon receipt, and that's because of damage, things like that. You know, tarnish, things like that. But you know, that's a fairly small percentage, but that's a testament to how well the product is taken care of by the authorized channel. So, you know, each of these are large, you know, distributors, so they have robust processes of their own. But yeah, there is a percentage that is scrap, but that's just, we want to err on the side of caution. We definitely want to support the manufacturers by making sure we don't accept counterfeit product. Again, that, like I said earlier, it's mitigated because we get it from the authorized channel. It's not in their best interest to put that in the channel. But yeah, so we're very proud of this process. Like I said, it was adopted by the ECIA as the industry best practice for handling slow moving product. That's something we're very proud of. We're published, you could say. But yeah.
Okay. So. And as far as the certifications that you guys, excuse me, because I know that so the ISO 9001 is a standard, I'm assuming, but then you've also gotten the ISO 14001.
We're on our journey for that, actually.
Okay.
We're just starting that journey this year. Our plan is to be certified by no later than January of next year, and that's a very conservative estimate. We're confident we'll get it done before that, but again, I'm in quality, so I'm going to be a little more conservative. So we'll put January out there, and if we get it before that, then that's great.
Okay, good. Now, one of the outcomes of this, and what I also want to talk about, is your 2-year extended warranty. And I noticed, y'all have published this white paper, Myth or Fact: Aged Product Indicates Diminished Performance, kind of question mark, posing that question. And you do a good piece. Explain how those kind of are, did one result in the other, or how did this go?
Well, for one, we do recognize that there has been a long-standing industry thought that product older than 2 years is no good, right? It's long-standing. Now, I will say there have been many studies, and these studies are quoted in our white paper. And I encourage anybody to go to waldom.com and review the white paper. But there are quite a few studies. Texas Instruments did a study along with others. Rochester Electronics conducted a study. There's quite a few studies been done that really debunks that industry thought that 2 year product older than 2 years is no good. We also, of course, we monitor our customer complaints as it pertains to manufacturers' defects and or out of spec product, and that we found that it's very minimal. In 2021. We had a total of $10,000, less than actually $10,000 worth of product that was returned to us that was truly defective and or out of spec. In 2022, it jumped all the way up to $13,000. Now, keep in mind, in 2022, we sold $64 million worth of recovery product. So out of $64 million, $13,000 of it was defective. That has nothing to do with age. I mean, this product is good. The advancements that manufacturers have made, both in their processes, their materials, but also in their storage and packaging, they've made great advancements, and it just proves that product older than 2 years old is perfectly fine. It's more than good, and so and we wanted to quote those studies, and we want to continue to push that because it's a big deal, and it leads into keeping product out of the landfill that doesn't need to go into the landfill and things like that.
Right. So, and for that, to that point though, on the 2 years and that older 2 years, that's even in highly regulated industries. I think of places like Mil-Aero and specifically Mil-Aero is what comes to mind, but maybe medical. Is there greater concern in those particular industries?
For sure there is, and frankly, understandably so. Yeah. When you're dealing with aerospace and military and when you're dealing with maybe sometimes medical, of course you must be sensitive, and I do get that. I do, but again, our track record has proven that our product is good. It's of high quality. It's in great condition. Based on the very minimal volume of returns that we've had for that. Our stance is we stand behind it, obviously, with the 2 year warranty, which is longer than most anybody's warranty. And keep in mind, that's from the date of sale. That's not from the date of manufacture, obviously.
Date of sale from Waldom.
From Waldom, that's right. So 2 full years from the date of sale from Waldom. We will gladly take that return, give you a full credit for the value of the product that we shipped you that you return. So that's a full 2 year from our sale date, for sure.
No, that's excellent. And it strikes me too that, on that goods or components good for more than 2 years, packaging and storage is a consideration that's assuming that the packaging and the storing has been, maintained, and, that you're not getting stuff that's just been opened and left, out in a warehouse, so to speak, right? So
right. A prime example of that would be moisture sensitive product. And there's a fair amount of that. Again, that's just one example, but that's like if we receive a product that is it's within a moisture sensitive bag, but maybe it's not sealed, that's scrapped immediately. We don't know how long that's been open. Yeah. We don't know what environment that's been exposed to as far as with an open bag. So we scrap that immediately. It's not worth it. It's not worth the risk to accept that in, for sure.
Now, you alluded there to another point I wanted to ask you about when you were talking about keeping this out of the landfill, right? So how does the stock recovery program help with ESG kind of initiatives in the industry?
Well, it's funny because I heard this story from a gentleman that's within our company, and he said that when he was a product manager, you know, this stock rotation program has gone on for quite a few years. And back in the early days of it, they would get their list, whatever, and then they would have to video themselves spraying the product down with a hose so it's rendered useless, and then throw it away. I mean, how horrible is that for the environment? Yeah. And you know, 17,000 tons of product we estimate has been sold through the recovery program that would have gone to the landfill immediately. 17,000 tons. I mean, that's a lot. Yeah. And so obviously, you know, reducing the amount of product going into the landfill we feel is great for the environment, obviously. Also, another thing that's harder to quantify, but when manufacturers don't have to set up a part number because it's available at Waldom, that's reducing the carbon footprint of the manufacturer as well. Mm-hmm. So, and that's a big deal. Plus, it reduces the amount of natural resources that have to be, you know, obtained to make that product. So we're digging into the earth less for that product and things like that, so that they don't have to, you know, make the raw materials to make the product. So all the way across the board, it helps the environment for sure.
Yeah, no, and thanks for explaining that, because that's a big issue in the industry, obviously, ESG, right, for the and how we're all trying to improve that way. And so partners who can help us facilitate that obviously are going to be of great value and hopefully get sought out. Yeah. This is interesting. I appreciate your time here taking to explain some of this stuff in greater detail than I was able to with Don earlier this year. Yeah, I keep looking for kind of the chink in the armor, so to speak, at Waldom, and I haven't found it yet. You know, so
well, the one chink in the armor, and you alluded to it before. You know, not everybody's heard of us, and these interviews that you're kind enough to run, hopefully will help in that area, because we want people to know about Waldom. We want people to know that Waldom is and you mentioned this earlier, we're a problem solver. That's what we do. We solve problems and it's not just for one or the other. We solve problems for the manufacturer, we solve problems for the distributor, and in turn, those solve problems for the end user. So that's what we're all about, solving problems.
Yeah. No. I'm glad. And I think I told you, you know, after that initial interview and I went to Apex, I had people coming up saying, who is this Waldom? And, you know, where did they come from? And yet you've been around for decades, right? So right. It's the coming out party, so to speak, for Waldom. It seems like.
I like the way you put that. Yeah.
Good. Well, Dan, thank you for your time. Hopefully we can do this again, get a catch up with you as the processes continue and Waldom's success continues, and hopefully the adoption in the industry continues, because clearly there's great value that you bring. So.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and thank you for your time, and I appreciate being on your show here.
Very good. Thank you, Dan. Take good care.
All right, you too.